and I was looking at the paper yesterday and was quite surprised to see the result of the court who has ordered Canterbury's Regional Council to reconsider a decision to allow the discharge of nitrogen and other contaminants from irrigated dairy land. And this relates to the a consent granted to the Ashburton Lyndhurst Irrigation Limited, which has basically got the irrigation for the most of that sort of area around Ashburton. And online we have Colin Hurst from Federated Farmers. Good morning, Colin.
Good morning, Tina.
Now, you're the Federated Farmers spokesperson on freshwater and irrigation type issues?
Yes, that's right, Tina.
Cool. So just tell us a little bit about the history of this particular consent and what this latest edict means for irrigation in New Zealand. What are the concerns with it?
Yeah, well, it's still going to play out. I guess the parties still need to decide whether they're going to appeal this decision. But basically how it works, Tina, is you have an irrigation scheme, and it's like a group of farmers that are part of the scheme, and they apply for it's like a global consent for their farming activities.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really good idea, as opposed to an individual farmer like myself who sit outside an irrigation scheme. We've got our own independent consents and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, so that's the difference. When you're working as a group, you get good support, professional support. You can work with the other farmers and try and make continual improvement on a lot of their farming activities.
And so, what's the crux of the issue here that the environmentalists have the concern for?
Well, it's how this is defined in the REMA. So they talk about a direct discharge to the environment. This is basically a factory pouring water into the river. Yep. So that's really easy to work out. But this is a diffuse discharge. So it means you're not exactly sure where the nitrogen is coming from. Everyone sort of knows it's from the farms, though, and it filters down through the soil and eventually gets into the waterway. So, yep. So that's the difference. And it's not an exact science, this. And it takes a long time from the activities on the farm to get into the water, I suppose, and then to make improvements as well. If farmers are already making significant improvement to the environment. In fact, this consent application talks about a 20% reduction in nitrogen usage. So all these things take time. So, but basically this consent hasn't been turned down. It's just asked, the court has directed Environment Canterbury to go back and consider some of these other things they didn't consider in the original consent application. And
so is that and considering other methods to reduce the amount of nitrogen, and how easy is that, basically, if that is the case?
Well, that's uncertain yet, because I think the court directed the council, or the court in their decision said the council didn't consider the impact on coastal and and there's something else there too. So I guess the council just has to consider that and make sure then when they do the decisions they take those things into account.
So we're still probably going to see this proceed, but there does seem to be, in the media reports that I've seen, some concern that this may mean that they have to stop the current activity.
So under the RMA at the moment, as long as they have an application to renew their existing consent, well, this is the difference with this one. It's a renewal of an existing consent. So the farmers are allowed to carry on until that decision is made. Look, this court decision has just come out last week. I'm pretty sure the hearing was last year. This was started a couple of years ago. So if there's an appeal process, that could take another couple of years. So it's just pushing it out longer. But I would expect Environment Canterbury would be really concerned about their processes on this, and I suggest they will be looking very closely at it. It's a bit similar to the water bottling case they had a few years ago in Canterbury, where the Regional Council took a view that these consents could be transferred to the water bottling people from a freezing works. Yep. And they got kicked. Environment Canterbury got kicked for touch on that one as well. So
right. So this is basically more around the process of the council rather than the actual irrigator.
That's right. So the council processes haven't been done properly. And I'm pretty sure, I just read the judgment just to clarify a few things. So it was a non-notified consent, so that ruling, the council didn't do anything wrong with that because they just needed to deal with the issues without notifying these.
So they didn't need to notify. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, just for your edification, I'm a consents resource management commissioner.
Okay.
But so I sort of understand some of the stuff, but it's interesting then when you talk about the fact that the council's processes under the RMA haven't quite been up to scratch. And are you hopeful that the new changes to the RMA that this government is signalling may alleviate some of these issues and simplify the process?
Yeah, I think it needs to be simplified. I mean, this application could be up for one of the fast track applications. So That means it goes through a process like that. So it's at that scale. So this is a little quirk in the law. This, and I can't remember the exact part of it. But from what I've been told, there's the difference between diffuse and direct discharges to the environment. So it's the diffuse stuff that's not. The little loophole is dealing with that. This is where the court found.
So diffuse would be you'd do it like you'd put the discharge on a paddock that may be 500 yards from the foreshore or even more, but direct it would basically be drained out direct into the sea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like farmers have had the overseer model, which is a computer program. You put all the things you do on your farm and it works it out. It's all about modelling because you can't actually measure it. So it's a modelled, and there's arguments with models, a bit like the climate.
And where the nitrogen comes from.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. There's nitrogen comes from other places, like there's the towns. Like Ashburton's got their sewage plants and all that sort of stuff. There's freezing works that are had issues with nitrate. There's the nitrate comes out of the hills in some of their hill country. It's a natural state.
That's right.
It's really hard to work out exactly where it's coming from.
Yeah. Now, besides this issue, Colin, what sort of issues are the farmers facing down in your area?
Well, I'm farming in South Canterbury in the Waimate district, and our biggest issue at the moment is it's nothing to do with the government or regulation. It's the dry.
Yeah.
We're extremely dry. In fact, just some of my colleagues within about an hour's drive, they're saying it's the worst for about 40 or 50 years.
Wow.
So that's pretty significant for us. That's up in the Mackenzie country and down in North Otago.
And the Wairarapa, actually, too.
Well, I did hear the Wairarapa. Our provincial president, David Hayes, was in the media saying how bad it is in the Wairarapa as well. So
yeah, he happens to be my partner.
Oh, really?
We've got 10 acres. It's pretty dry at the moment. I think there was a media report in the local paper saying this morning that they're on the edge of declaring a drought for the Wairarapa too. So have you declared a drought down there yet, or are you on the edge?
No, so North Otago and parts of South Canterbury got announced last week. So thanking the Minister of Agriculture for that. And obviously Marlborough's been had one announced the previous week to that. So that's our biggest issue. Obviously, farmers, or interest rates is the other big thing. Our costs of inflation's been a big deal for us. Most farmers, we talk about the headlined dollars that farms are worth, but by golly, there's a lot of debt goes with it as well. So
and the price of sheep and beef is not hellishly flat, or more to the point, sheep, I think, isn't it, at the moment?
Oh, the sheep thing's pretty tough out there. This is the second year. It's the worst. It was bad last year, and it's got worse this year.
I think the only upside to it is you can actually, a family can go into a supermarket these days and actually pick up a leg of lamb for $20. Well, I haven't seen that for years.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, so that's
the only positive.
But hopefully that people can get reasonable food, I suppose.
It is a quirk, but I did notice that, and I thought, it's actually not. It's a good sign and a bad sign, really.